Them birds gon' fly, you already know. Brains slid slow, Eagles train to go.
All right, let's talk about it. Second play of the game, Saquon Barkley takes off for a 65-yard touchdown. It was bound to happen, like I said. You know, great blocking on the play. Finally, the offensive line looking like they're ready to start playing how they need to be playing. And that was just one of those plays. Like I said, the first two runs of the game for Saquon always looks good. And these ones just happen to have great blocking. And it was the first play for him. Took off, had the touchdown. When Jackson Dart had the ball, Jalen Hurts was able to get to him finally. And they called it a sack initially, but then it was eventually not a sack. But nevertheless, he still got him down at a good position. And New York had to punt the ball. Tank Bigsby, I said it in the last video, he only had one run the whole year. And finally, they gave him the ball more times this game. He got a lot more touches and was able to show what he's capable of. And the first run that he had was a big run. Barkley was able to get going with a couple of nice 5-yard rushes after his big run. And that's just what's needed right there, because the last couple of games, he just get blown up behind the line every game. That seems to be the thing, and struggling to get like 50 yards. But this game, the 5-yard gains were easy to get and everything was on time. He was able to pick up the first downs in 10-yard rushes and things like that. So it was looking like last year, because the blocking was finally proper in this game. The Eagles were finally able to run a screenplay properly by running a screenplay to Saquon. They were able to run a proper screenplay. They haven't been able to do that in a while, because every time they try to run screenplays, those things get blown up as well. They've tried with Devontae before. They've tried with AJ. Never works. Even some they've tried with Saquon were not successful. And this game, they were able to get a nice screenplay going with Saquon. He was able to pick up the first down on it. There were blocks in front of him. Just proper plays by Kevin Patullo at the proper time. And finally, Jalen Hurts was using his legs in this game, picking up first downs on scrambles and a couple yards on scrambles and things like that. On this particular play, he was able to pick up 7 yards on the scramble, and he had a nice cut on that play as well. If he was able to make off with that, he might have been able to pick up the first down. But using his legs in this game made all the difference as well at crucial points of the game. There was a 4th and 4 that the Eagles was going for it, but Tyler Steen got a flag on the play that resulted in Jake the Make having to go for a 58-yarder, and that ball hit off the post and doinked, and he missed that. That was his second miss of the year. So Jake got to tighten up right now. Can't make a habit of this, because especially he's completed a 58-yarder this year already. So you got to start, the things you have in the bag, you got to keep it in the bag. You can't be shaky with that. You've made one before this year. You got to make another one, but he missed this one. The Eagles weren't able to add to their points and kept the game 7-0 at that point instead of 10-0. When the Giants got the ball back, Jackson Dart was sacked, and on the next play, he was able to pick up the first down on a scramble. Slayton had a nice reception for a first down. It was a zone coverage by the Eagles. That was a busted play. There was a lot of room in that play. Jackson Dart had options in that play. That led to the Scatterboo touchdown. It was an easy pitch and catch from quarterback to running back. The Eagle player slipped on the play. Even if he didn't slip, it was going to be a touchdown anyway. And Scatterboo was able to get the touchdown, tying the game up for the Giants, 7-7. On the kickoff, Will Shipley had a big return, taking the ball back to the 47 for the Eagles. During that drive, the Eagles ended up in a 4th and 3, and Jalen Hurts was able to pick up the 3 yards with his legs. As soon as he saw that there was an open lane, he took it. I've been speaking about that for weeks now, that he hasn't been decisive on his runs. This game was not that. He made a lot of quick decisions to take off from the pocket, even though there were still some sacks in this game. This game was a better game as far as making decisions with his legs to take off. Smitty had a big 26-yard reception on that drive to keep the drive alive when he caught the ball and was able to take it a couple more yards going across the field. The Eagles ended up in the 3rd and 9, and Jalen Hurts went for the scramble because there was nobody open and the pocket was collapsing. And on that run, it looked like he picked up the first down, but he didn't pick up the first down. He didn't reach the ball out, which was a good idea during that time of the game. It was 4th and 1. On the 4th and 1, the Eagles went for a brotherly shove. After this year, if they want to ban the brotherly shove, they can, because they try to use the brotherly shove situation in this game to take away from the Eagles and the great game that they had, because they don't know how to officiate it. Every time it happens, there's always something going on and an excuse in some point in the game, and this isn't the first time we've heard about it. So I'm really tired of it at this point. They could do whatever they want with it. The Eagles pick up the first down. Jalen Hurts to Saquon Barkley for the 9-yard reception for the touchdown. Nice pitch and catch. Easy work. 14-7 Eagles. When the Giants got the ball next, they got to delay a game. Nakobe Dean with the run stopping, something that was needed. Him being back is perfect for the run stopping. During that drive for the Giants, Scatterboo ended up getting injured. You know, it was a gruesome injury. Nothing nobody likes to see. He's a good player for the Giants, so shout out to him. Hopefully he gets well soon. Quinyon Mitchell stopped Slayton on the desperate 3rd down attempt from the Giants. Jackson Dart threw the ball. Quinyon Mitchell with the great defense. And the Giants had to punt the ball. When the Eagles got the ball back, ended up having a 3 and out. And Burns was able to sack Jalen Hurts again. Just like he did in the last game, he was able to have success this time again. Dart was moving the ball, you know, trying to do what he could against the Eagles defense that was getting after him all game. He tried to go for a throw to Theo Johnson, and Blankenship got in there at the perfect time, even though Theo Johnson wasn't going to make that catch anyway. Nothing was going to happen on that play, and the Giants had to settle for a field goal, making the game 14-10. Shipley had another great return on the kickoff. Barkley had another great run for a first down, putting him over 100 yards for the game, and it was only almost about to be halftime. QB1 to Devontae Smith again. You know, they've been having a great connection over the last couple of weeks, and just another showcase in this week. On the next play, Hurts to Goddard on the touchdown. Goddard keeps having a great year, and this play was a great play right here. We usually run this play with A.J. Brown, the slant, and Goddard ran it well. When you catch the ball where he caught it, by the time you tackle him, you're taking him to the end zone anyway, so it's going to be a touchdown. Good job by him, QB1, seeing the play. As soon as it happens, great release, perfect. And they go into the halftime at 21-10. Third quarter, Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith again, just making great plays all throughout the game. Another great throw to Devontae. Best running day of the season so far for the Birds. Able to have 2 running backs over 100 yards and having your premier running back at 150 yards with just 14 carries, and RB2 with over 100 yards with 9 touches. Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith sideline throw, perfect. Jalen Hurts was sacked on the play, and that set up a field goal for Jake to make, and he was able to redeem himself on this one, making the 40-yard field goal. 24-10 Eagles. When New York got the ball back, Jackson Dart was trying to do his best to move the ball down the field. Singletary had a big reception on the Kobe Dean. It was just a play. He was going to be the linebacker, and he did a great job coming out the backfield, making the catch down the field. New York had to settle for the field goal, making the game 24-13. When the Eagles got the ball back in the fourth quarter, Saquon Barkley had a big run. There was nice blocking on the play, and he was able to make his moves. And he eventually was pushed out of bounds on the play, and he looked like he pulled something. They ended up saying it was a groin injury, so hopefully that he's not too injured. And they took him out the game and let Tanks Bigsby run some more. Jalen Hurts was sacked on the 1st and 10 by Brian Burns, and he just kept moving backwards. Took the sack, lost a lot of yards going backwards, and it was 2nd and 31. Looking like a play that was a lost cause. Tank Bigsby had the handoff that went for 33 yards. There was no way that play was going to go off without having the type of blocking that he had on the play and the vision that he had. As soon as he got the ball, there was a Giants player right behind him, so he was able to already break out and was automatically going to pick up at least 5 yards. But then when the blocking was picked up by Goddard, Bigsby was able to get through his block and also make the New York players collide with each other, slipping through the tackle, picking up the first down, having 2 more Giants players in front of him. And that was just a great play and gave the Eagles boost to get right back in it, and it was not a lost drive at all. The Eagles ran an RPO play that was set up beautifully, setting it up for an easy touchdown from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert. That's the old school Jalen Hurts type of play. It's the vintage Jalen Hurts play that you've seen in the 2022 season, the RPO, because it just keeps the Eagles dangerous when you don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to keep it, give it to the running back that's usually dangerous with the Eagles' offensive line and whatever they present at any given time. If somebody's going to be pulling around, it can be a receiver or usually a tight end, because you're thinking it's a running play anyway, so it's most likely a tight end. And a tight end like Dallas Goedert, great at blocking, so he's usually in on the running plays, but then he's also a great receiver, so if he gets open, he's going to be open. And the Giants player slipped, and even if he didn't slip, Dallas Goedert was going to get behind him anyway, because he was already committed to not knowing what type of play he was going to make. That's part of why he slipped. And it was just an easy pitch and catch and easy touchdown for Dallas Goedert. 2nd of the day for him, making the game 31-13 Eagles. That's Dallas Goedert's 7th touchdown of the year. I already talked about how everybody was upset about the brotherly shove and the supposed fumble that occurred or didn't occur on it. But when is the NFL going to decide what a strip sack is? Because every time the Eagles get one, it doesn't count. Cooper DeJean got one on Bo Nix a couple weeks ago, and that didn't count. This game, Josh Uche got one on Jackson Dart, and for some reason that didn't count. So what is a strip sack? When the Eagles do it, it doesn't count, because that to me looked like a strip sack. These people don't know that they're throwing the ball, or whoever they're throwing the ball to. They get the ball taken out of their hands, and the Eagles players recover it. And next thing you know, the refs always say, oh, nah, he was actually throwing it. Come on. If you're going to call something, call it and make sense about it. It doesn't make any sense how it happens that way, that the Eagles players never get a strip sack in their favor. So, I mean, I just find that kind of fascinating, and everybody gets upset about something else pertaining to Eagles, but something like this, just an easy call that you can see clearly that this was a strip sack. He didn't know what he was doing. He let his arm go and the ball was not there. That was not an intentional throw. He was not throwing to anybody. On the next play, Moro Ojomo was able to come up with a sack with Uche Alpin on the play, but Ojomo was credited with the sack. Ojomo been having a great year. You know, he's really working well with Jalen Carter right now. They're working well together. And Ojomo is really coming up with the sacks. Jalen Carter had a sack in this game too. But Moro Ojomo is really, he's really coming up with the sacks right now for the Eagles, being consistent, getting about one a game right now in the last couple games. So shout out to him. Jackson Dart threw the ball to Slayton on a desperate third down, and he had a push off on Quinyon Mitchell. The Giants thought they had a touchdown, but it wasn't a touchdown. It was clearly a push off on Quinyon Mitchell by Slayton, and you could see it. He had his jersey grabbed, and they were being handsy, fighting with the hands, but there was no grabbing of jerseys or any pushing off by Quinyon. Slayton was the one that engaged in that manner to be able to get off the space that he got off to get the touchdown. And when he got the touchdown, it was called back for a flag. The Giants were upset about that as well. And no matter how much they want to blame the refs and the officiating in this game, everybody can do that every game, especially the ones that you lose. But even winners still have things that were called against them or not for them that you can always look back on. So that happens every game. The Giants had to punt the ball. The Eagles got the ball back. Bigsby had a big first down run, and the Eagles just kind of spammed Bigsby during that drive. He kept having first down runs and having big runs, big spaces to run through, and, just hitting the gap violently and keeping his legs moving and wasn't taken down easily at all. And it was just a great thing to see. Saquon at this point wasn't back in the game at all, even though he looked like he could come back in the game. He already went to the blue tent and came back and was on the sidelines. But Bigsby was holding it down at that point in time, keeping his legs moving and getting a lot of yards on the ground. The Eagles ended up in a third down situation, and Hurts to Dotson. Perfect. Dotson tried to hit the stutter step. He was able to get leverage on the DB. The ball came up slightly short, but it was in the perfect position, because if the ball was laid out more, they might have to fight for it more. And Dotson is not a big body, so I'm not sure. But it was definitely more on the shorter side. And Dotson went up and caught the ball. He fought harder for the ball. And every reception that Dotson made for the Eagles playing with Jalen Hurts, a lot of them look like that. He fights for his receptions and he makes the most of the targets that he does get, because he doesn't get a lot of targets. And when he gets them, he definitely makes the most of it, doesn't do any complaining at all. And he definitely needs to see more targets his way. He's a great target and seems to have a knack for the end zone when he makes receptions. And Jalen Hurts definitely needs to look his way a lot more. After the 40-yard touchdown reception, the game is now 38-13 Eagles. And the Giants, just to get back in it, the Eagles had backups in, and they were just moving the ball, had a big reception, and Jackson Dart ended up scrambling to get a touchdown, making the game 38-20. Tank Bigsby had another big run to move the chains after the Eagles got the ball back to just basically end the game out. And, Tanner McKee was able to come in there, do a handoff. And, that's just what the Eagles do. Great Eagle games end with the backup coming in to hand the ball off to RB number 2. That's how great Eagle games end, and that's exactly how this one ended. And, it was a get-right game for the Birds. They lost to this team already, and they just had to do what they had to do in this game to get back right. The Giants have a decent defense, not the best secondary, but they definitely had a great pass rush, and they were able to get sacks in this game. But the Eagles players were also able to get sacks in this one. Best game for them so far this year. 5 sacks today. Great work. Even the Eagles secondary had a better day than they've been having. Keely Ringo, best day of his career. Didn't let anything happen today. So shout out to him. Just like how you get criticism, you can get praise. Regardless of however it looked and however it happened, And great day for QB1. They let a lot of things get lost in translation in these games, never giving credit where it's due. But when you have 4 touchdowns for the day, that's a great day. No interceptions. That's an awesome day. 20 throws, 15 completions. That's what you want. Efficient. Last 2 games, threw the ball 43 times and had 34 completions. That's one game for a lot of these other quarterbacks if they have a good game throwing the ball 40 times. They don't even get 30-something completions. So in 2 games, throwing the ball only 40-something times and being efficient, but in both games having 7 touchdowns. 7 passing touchdowns, so that's just been very great by QB1 going into the bye. They're going into the bye looking how you want to be looking and standing how you want to be standing in the division and in the conference as well. With a lot of things looking up for the Eagles right now, we're going to see what's next. But for now, the win is a great win, putting them at 6-2. To go into the bye mid-season, and going into mid-season 6-2 is great for the team. Great place you want to be, especially with the NFC looking out. It's looking with a lot of teams having good records. So it's just a lot going on in the NFC right now. So being 6-2 going into the bye is where you want to be. And we're going to see how the Eagles continue to build upon having the best game they've had so far, with the running game getting going and also being very efficient in the passing game, which is how you want to be in the passing game. Not throwing the ball 40 times just to get 200 yards, but throwing the ball just about 20 times and being efficient, having 15 completions. But out of those 15 completions, 4 were for touchdowns. That's efficiency right there. So shout out to the Birds for completing what they need to do. Going into the bye week, sitting right, 6-2. See you on the next one. Go Birds.
Them birds gon' fly, you already know. Race to the snow, Eagles train to go. Say what you want about a cute big coach, but all they do is whip, put their feet on your throat. Line hunts, secondary, no fly zone. When you leave the link, it's a long flight home. Them birds gon' fly, you already know. Race to the snow, Eagles train to go.